Hey, what's going on, everybody? Pastor Brett here with Gina Hoff for another edition of Coffee and Cuts. We're glad that you're taking the time to just hang out with us and dig in to have a little more content, a little more conversation around some of the topics of truth that we explored last Sunday at church. So, we're in this Testify series, and this week was about being a better question asker, which I know is probably not great grammar, but it is good for outreach. It is good for evangelism. Gina, we kind of said that this series was going to deconstruct the fears around evangelism. One of the things I think that we've come to realize is that Christians have been trained to be great statement makers, not great question askers. Do you find that to be true in your story?
Absolutely. I think this was one I think I will take in my personal life for sure. Like you said, and we're given all these kind of almost cliche answers sometimes, or statements to make, and they genuinely don't reach people a lot of times. So yeah, I think this is a very true statement. And I also think being a better question asker is such a way to kind of fall into God-driven conversation with people too, because it opens up, more to God.
So Gina, we've been pre-programmed to be great statement makers and fixers. Has there been a time in your life where you've heard somebody or say something or do something that you just felt like you needed to fix it, and what was the outcome?
I think I work in a very diverse office, and one of my coworkers kind of made the announcement to the office. He's like, you know what? I believe that we all serve the same God. We just get there in different ways. Kind of like exactly what you had touched on then. And honestly, you just want to, my first instinct was to make a statement that I knew was true and that he was wrong and this wasn't a valid belief. And I honestly probably froze a little bit and didn't react. But yeah, I'd be curious to know, in that exact situation, what would be, how would you respond?
Yeah. I might come to him at lunch or, to his office and just say, hey, I heard what you said today. I appreciate the kind of boldness it takes to get, say stuff like that. But I'm just curious, what really makes you, believe that, all paths are leading in the same direction? What is it about your journey, your story, your belief system that has brought you to that place? And just let him kind of talk it out a little bit. Find a way to start asking more questions. I was talking to somebody about a different belief system that they have, and I said, is that something you really believe, or is that something that you've been told to believe? And they're like, well, no, I was told to believe that, but I kind of believe it. I was like, I'm not too convinced. I was like, I don't know if you really believe that or not. And I think for them, it was one of the first moments that they actually realized that they didn't really believe what they believed, even though that they were just trying to convince me to believe it.
Wow.
With a question.
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to see you kind of outside of the church and interacting with people, and I have to believe there was some point in your life where you made that decision to be a question asker. And I would just be curious to know how you saw things change in your own life from, before you had made that decision to now when you are.
Sure. I think it goes back to a little bit of my background in sales. In sales, I remember a vice president of sales doing a training one day, and I remember him saying, you have to find the pain in your customer. He said, you have to find the pain. And what he meant by that was, he said, you have to find, is their distributor letting down their production schedule? Are their prices too high? Are their expectations not being met? He said, you can't come in and tell them all the good things we do until you find their pain. If you find their pain, then you can talk about how the things that we do addresses the pain of their situation, and then you can become a provider. And so in the same way, really when I'm talking to people, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just trying to find their pain. I'm trying to ask enough questions to get to that place where, like the woman at the well, Jesus asked the question knowing what her pain was. Her pain was this insatiable desire to find, her person in these relationships that had just failed time and time again. And so the solution is him. And so as I'm talking to people, I'm trying to find the pain. Where are they frustrated in life? Where are they feeling let down? Where are they feeling ashamed or not full enough or whatever it is? Because at the end of the day, whatever it is, the vacuum that's missing is Christ. It's the epicenter of him in the center of everything. And so really just trying to find out, where that pain is within people. And that's, when I ask people, even just the other day, I met a mom at the park, and I was there with Jacob and our sons, and Sarah was there, and was talking to her and just said, hey, what's your name? Basic stuff. Do you live around here? Yeah, sure. very cool. I said, you know, my family and I just moved here. Where did you come from? Oh, we came from Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland area. Oh, great. Yeah, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a pastor of a local church. I'm like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I was like, that's really cool. And I said, you know, we love seeing people get connected into God. I said, are you connected anywhere, you know, at a local church around you? And she's like, no. And then she, you know, went on this, you know, pretty good story about, you know, why she wasn't connecting in. And I said, you know, I don't know. I said, I just believe God's got a story for you. And I believe that that story could be a part of our story at Calvary if you'd want to come check it out. And if not, then we're just going to be praying that you find that right fit for your family, because you got to get connected. You can't be on an island. She's like, I know, you're 100% right. And I seen her in church today.
No kidding.
So that was and it was, you know, it's
That's
just
wonderful.
God. That's the Lord doing a cool God thing. You know,
Yeah.
that divine connection, divine appointments. I mean, that's a God thing. And so, you know, I think when we start to pray and we trust, God connects the dots. Be willing to ask good questions and not make statements, you know, time and time again, but to just ask questions and to just listen. Let God be the one who's, you know, directing and guiding that content. I think you'll find the conversation goes much better than you ever think it could.
I love that.
So that's all we have for you for this edition of Coffee and Cuts. We pray that this week you will be a better question asker than a statement giver. See you next week.